Mo, welcome to the What Fills Your Cup podcast.
Thank you for having me.
To start off, what are we drinking today?
So I gave you a few options. I gave you Diet Coke, zero sugar, the red one, the Celsius Peach, or Americano Black. So so I gave you three pretty solid options, all of them in which they will fire you up in some sort of way.
Yes.
And you came up with the Celsius Orange, which is another great alternative to the peach.
They were out of peach, so I'm stressed.
I'm not gonna lie. Cheers. Yeah. I was on this Celsius wave every day last summer for the whole summer.
I always say this mixed with like vodka or tequila in the summer as like a sipper drink on the patio. Say less. I'll have 5. So, to start off every episode, I'd like to have my guests kind of introduce themselves, maybe talk about some of your hobbies, passions, what you do for work, studies, and just have everyone get to know who is Mo and what makes Mo Mo.
I'm Mo. So I was born in Iran, and when I was a year old, I moved to North Van. So when I moved here, I immigrated with my mom. And then once we got here, my auntie and my 2 uncles and my grandma ended up coming. So yeah, only child, grew up in North Van, went to high school in North Van, played all sorts of sports, soccer, swimming. Most people don't know I swam. And then basketball is my thing. I played college basketball for a little bit. After high school, actually, I went to Ohio for a year for prep school to play basketball there. And that's basically all we did. We live in a hotel with a bunch of dudes all on the same floor. I had a roommate, shout out Brandon Williams. We basically played all over the states, just in different tournaments, and did a little bit of SAT, ACT work to get into the states. And I would say that was a big pivotal moment in my life, just in terms of like me changing and me turning into a new identity.
Like confidence based, or was that just feeling like you were growing into yourself as a person?
Bit of both, like, because we had probably, I think, 20 dudes from all over the place. So we had from Spain, Wales, everywhere in the States. So there's a lot of different attitudes and mindsets just coming into one place, all looking to achieve the same goal of playing basketball, or collegiate basketball somewhere, right?
So I love that you have a big sports background. And I also, something that you didn't bring up though, is your podcast.
I do have a podcast, yes.
For those that don't know, your podcast is titled ENJOYYOUR24. Love the name. How did you come up with that?
The name, so when I first started, it was supposed to be a basketball podcast, and it was just after Kobe Bryant passed away. He was my idol and someone I looked up to growing up, especially playing basketball. So his number was 24. There's 24 seconds on a shot clock. And then, yeah, Enjoy Your 24 basically means enjoy your day, 24 hours in a day. But it was kind of a runoff of Kobe and his number and a shot clock in basketball. But it also has so many other parallels, like, you know, just enjoy your day.
See, at first when I read it, I thought it was, I didn't know if maybe you started it when you were 24, so it was like talking about enjoying the year of being in your mid-20s. That's
Right.
kind of maybe how I had interpreted it, but I love that you're talking more of just day. Like, you got 24 hours in a day, enjoy them, make the most of them. And I also love that because you grew up playing basketball, you pulled that into something really meaningful and also something that means a lot to you personally. So what does Enjoy Your 24 mean to you?
So many things can go on throughout a day, things you don't expect, and anything that falls under a day, anything that anyone goes throughout a day. So I think it's a very general and broad stroke to that. I kind of want to bridge the gap between people's experiences and what they individually go through each day.
You're catering to a lot of different niches and a lot of different, or I should say, you're catering to a lot of different topics. You talk about career obstacles, you talk about mental health challenges, dating life, really relevant, but also difficult things to navigate at whatever stage of life you're in. But regarding mental health, in what ways has sharing your personal challenges helped create a space for your audience, family, and friends to gain a deeper understanding of the emotions and experiences you navigate?
Yeah, wow, great question. So for me, I think it's always been like ever since I was a kid, I was very open about how I felt. I was fortunate enough and I had the advantage of having a mom that was very open-minded and very supporting. So when I would tell her something about, hey mom, I'm not feeling good or something's up, she wouldn't weaponize that against me and make me feel like, well, you're bored or you're not doing enough or it's all in your head or man up, right? I had the chance to be able to voice how I felt. For me, I felt so terrible and there was so much pain and anxiety and depression going on within me as a little kid. I never feared what anyone thought of me. I never really cared about the judgment that I might get or might not get, the labels. The pain that I felt inside outweighed the possibility of other people judging me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. Like, okay, if you, let's say I tell someone, yeah, I'm really depressed, man. I'm going through it. I don't really know what to think. It's like I need to talk about it. I need to let it out or else I'm gonna implode.
Totally hear what you're saying, and I actually find that quite interesting for the reason that a lot of people would maybe look at that in an opposite way of, I'm already hurting, so your words are actually affecting me more. But it's interesting that you were able to say, you know what, I don't give a fuck what you think. Like, what you say, I'm probably feeling and saying 10 times worse than anything that you could get from this 30-second, 10-minute interaction. So, one, I'm so grateful to hear that you have a really good support system around you. I think being able to confide in someone that's older than you, especially a parent, your mom, for example, is huge, especially in your formative years. So I'm really happy to hear, though, that you have that relationship, and also from a young age you've been able to be so open and honest and heard. I would love to talk about one of the podcast episodes that you've done.
Absolutely.
You had a conversation with your producer, Alex, back in January titled Never Enough. You opened up about, in your words, I have this emptiness, this void that I can't fill with things I thought were going to be worth it. Over the past few months, what are some steps you've taken to help fill that void?
Wow, okay. This is hard hitters. I like it. I don't want to give, like, here's the thing. I don't want to give a cliche answer of just telling you that I've been waking up every morning and writing down 5 things that I'm grateful for. Because I haven't. I'm going to be real. I haven't. Okay, one thing I have been doing, and this is something that I never thought I would be doing, is literally writing down the emotions. For example, like, I think I saw something the other day that someone on Instagram, I don't know who it was, but they received a big bonus or something. They got a big lump of money or whatnot. And in that moment, I felt this like activation. I felt this void of, well, shit, that's not me. I didn't get that. What am I doing wrong? Why am I not there? Am I not doing enough? Starting to spiral, right? Okay. And being in therapy school, like, this definitely helps. Like, I'm not going to say that this is something I just came up with. I literally wrote down, like, it's kind of like a tree with branches. Like, I wrote it down. Okay, activation, the event that activated me. Seeing someone on Instagram get X, Y, and Z. And then I wrote just like a arrow. Okay, emotion, envy, jealousy, despair, dread. Where is that? And then I kind of just like kept breaking it down. And then it's interesting because for me, it always leads back to my inner child and feeling that the feeling I had when I was 12 of not having enough or not doing enough or not good enough. That void that I was talking about on that episode really stems from that. And to your question, one of the other things that I've been doing other than writing it down and really breaking it down is when I do get into that mode of feeling that I have a void within me, or I feel as if I'm not doing enough or I haven't done enough, I go back to my 12-year-old self. I start talking to that little boy, because after doing a lot of therapy, I've come to notice that it's that 12-year-old boy that's feeling that emotion of having a void. So I just sit with that 12-year-old and I'm like, okay, what do you feel like you're missing out on? What do you feel like you're not good enough? A lot of the things I feel now and the way it manifests into my life now as a 29-year-old, that feeling of having a void, the feeling of not being good enough, or having a performative aspect on a lot of things, it comes back to that little boy that felt those exact same things.
For a lot of people, that's very relatable. Of some days are much better than other days, and reconnection to the self of, okay, I know where this is stemming from.
Mm-hmm.
I am aware that I know where it's coming from, and taking that time out of your day to navigate that, I think that's filling a void and also very healing to that 12-year-old boy that you were talking about and talking to. I think healing your inner child is really, really important. It's not something that a lot of people talk about because some people might have mixed opinions or views on that aspect. I'm a huge advocate for healing your inner child.
I'm glad you said that, having your back. Like you just said that, I didn't have that 12-year-old's back for the longest time. And that's kind of a change that I made this past year, is I was so ashamed of that 12-year-old boy. Just for context, that 12-year-old chunky kid that had braces, that was pretty much sweaty all the time. The girls didn't like him. He had friends, but like he wasn't like getting invited to everything. He always felt like he had to hold a certain standard and be the funniest guy to even be noticed. He went through a lot. So for the longest time, I've tried to mask that 12-year-old and forget about him. Honestly, just kind of, that never happened.
Yeah.
That's not a part of me. That I'm that guy now. But no, like that 12-year-old is me. That is who Mo is. I mean, that was little Mo at some point, right? I love him, right? So
and yeah. I want to say though, everyone had a fucking awkward phase.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh yeah.
And if you didn't, fuck you. You're lying to yourself. Everyone did, and I think that a lot of us, we can look back on our younger selves and have that first thought of shame or embarrassment. You don't want to look at that. It's like, no. You gotta love every part of yourself at every stage and phase. In some phases or stages, you might not agree with, I'm talking more of an emotions-based perspective, but you might not agree with some of the emotions you were acting on or doing. But at the same time, that's what makes you you, and you learn from those phases. It sounds as though here at 29 you can look back on 12-year-old Mo and say, like, dude, if only you knew where you're gonna be now. And that growth is huge, and without that awkward phase, who knows where you would be right now. And that's a beautiful part of life, is constantly growing and evolving. If 12-year-old you met you now, I can only imagine the positive things and admiration he would feel, and that's something to hold on to and remember, like, oh wait, yeah, like, you would think I'm really
for sure
cool,
yeah thank you. It's it comes out at different times, and similarities, it comes out in different ways. So
I just love that you talk about the inner child and younger self, because like I said, he's gonna think you're so fucking cool. And thank you for being so open and honest about him.
Yeah for sure.
And you, what have been some key turning points in navigating your mental health journey, and how have they influenced your personal growth?
Oh man, like in terms of my mental health journey, and one thing I will say, and this is something I wanted to, I guess, bring up, and I've kind of briefly gone over it on a few other episodes, but I think with men right now, and I can speak for myself for sure, ever since we've been little, and especially around my time, so early 2000s, growing up in that era, there has been this conditioning where men need to be unbreakable. So I think for a lot of dudes, they fall in this trap where they start feeling these emotions of sadness or dread or anxiety, and they not only are they feeling that, but then to add on to the burden and add on to the heaviness is, it's wrong. I shouldn't be feeling these things because that's not the sign of a strong man.
I think that media has really heavily influenced not only older generations, but as well as younger generations among men of having that brave face always and constantly. And I think that just had to do with Hollywood and how men were supposed to be portrayed within film and television. And I think that by you being open and vulnerable about that, that's the first step in breaking that barrier and breaking that wall down of that's not what life actually is.
No.
I think that's a very important topic to talk about and bring up. So I thank you for bringing that up. I think a lot more people can relate to that than they portray.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Now, Mo, we're going to end on a good note.
Okay.
My final question for you is one I ask every single one of my guests, and that is, what is your favorite thing about yourself and why?
I am extremely resilient, and I would like to think I'm very personable and very comforting. Yeah.
I love that you had more than one answer to say as well. I think that I like to ask that question because I never know what the guest is going to say, and I think it's also a good time to just sit back and say, like, you know what, as a man, these are the things I like about myself, and these are the things that I carry with me on a daily basis that I'm proud of. I think feeling proud of yourself is really important. I think 12-year-old you would be very proud of those answers as well. I just cannot thank you enough for your vulnerability today, your openness, your welcoming and kind heart, and I'm so excited for everyone to get to know pieces and parts of what makes Mo and seeing this amazing side of you. So I wanted to thank you again.
I appreciate you having me. This was fun. No,
Yay.
this is I'm actually hyped. I'm fired up. I mean, I can
Good.
I feel good.
Happy.
Yeah.
On that note, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to the What Fills Your Cup channel. And before I sign off, if you haven't heard it today, I love you. And do not forget to tell someone you love them because you never know who needs it a little extra. Bye, everyone.
Peace.